Hello. This time we are really prepared to go live. So today we are celebrating 1 year of YouTube presence, and I hope more of you will be interested to see how this video shapes up. Of course, we are not expecting major announcements or anything else, but it's going to be more of a way to remember what was achieved in almost 1 year. So if you have questions, please address them. If not, I will go and delve a bit upon the details that I consider useful for the time span that we have. So first of all, I think that there were many interesting subjects that were covered. Of course, I have many more to do so. I think there are different kinds of things you may be interested in, and I think that this is entirely to your preference. And I hope that you will find some of these videos interesting. There are going to be technical videos, there are going to be instructional materials, and there will also be others that I think will be pretty interesting. 1 year ago, I started with December, and of course, today we are, of course, in another December, and I have many videos and ideas I would like to share. And of course, some of them will pertain to those, and I hope that they will be interesting. I will be covering some of the solutions I found for some retro systems in order to install a DOS or a Windows version on compact flash cards and disk drives that were previously unable to be made bootable. There are also other things that may be interesting, like some applications or some facts about applications that you may not know of, and I think they will be pretty interesting. And of course, going further, there will certainly be other videos to show interesting technology products. And one of the classical ones I would like to show to you is this Windows CE, let's say, organizer or smart complex organizer. It's quite an interesting device. I think now it's going to be better seen. It's a device that was, in many ways, the staple of what we were expecting in the early 90s. And I think that it has a very interesting story. You have heard about Windows CE, you have seen many such interesting devices, so if you like to look upon it. Okay. There are many very interesting devices, and I think this one clearly is such a special one. You have to understand that before such products, you would have only your typical organizer, or you would have one that was much more limited. Basically, with something like this, you had almost a computer in your pocket, and this was not a promise. This was a product that delivered. Of course, it was not cheap. I think it was around a couple of hundreds US dollars, but it did entirely what was expected. And when we are looking back at such products that changed the world, I think that they are very interesting, and we should be covering them. Moving further, I will also cover some lamps, and certainly I have an interest in classical lamps. Perhaps right now you can see it a bit better. It's a mercury vapor lamp. They were quite popular in Europe, and I think that in many ways they will still be fondly remembered, at least for some of you. And I think that there are many aspects I would like to present, and if you would like to find out more about interesting details about such products, then please go and see the website, the RetroWiki'd website, because I have presented a lot of technical details and information regarding what you can, let's say, use such lamps for, or what was their intended purpose many years ago. And I think that they are still very interesting, and the lamp itself also has a shape that is quite interesting. And of course, it's a mains voltage lamp. It's true, the market is shrinking, and those lamps are not recommended for purchase anymore because they are much more effective solutions. But for legacy purposes, and when we are talking about technology that really changed some generations, I think that this is very important. So those are aspects I would like to dwell more upon, and I hope that there will be more to cover. And when we are thinking about the past year, there are many videos that I think were highly interesting. I liked when I made some reviews for certain laptops, and there are many interesting models I still have to cover. Some of them are particularly unique in the way in which they behave. Of course, some of their details were quite known to persons that have experienced and worked with them back then, but of course many are known to me, and I would like to share them with you, and I still hope you will find them interesting. So there are many aspects that I think will be useful to know. Also, regarding other plans, I think it's important to keep in mind the fact that there are so many other subjects that I would like to cover. In the past, I have done so for sociological ones, I have done so for some historical facts, and I still think that if you find them interesting, you will clearly see them, and there are more things that I would like to share. However, since instructables and DIY videos are also highly attractive, I think that I will be continuing to cover them. And I have many other ideas and concepts I would like to share. Of course, today's session is not going to be overly long because mostly you know all too well what to expect. However, there are many aspects that would be perhaps interesting to know, and if you have some that you would like to find more about, then please do. Of course, other than that, we have the comment section that is going to be highly useful to have feedback from you and see where I could improve or what else I could share about a particular product or technology. And I have many other things in mind, and some of them will be obviously coming pretty soon. But the gist of it is, of course, that this month is December, and I will also present some interesting aspects about those, probably less so about the historical aspects, because I think that most of you are already aware of the current status of those, And I also do not have anything else that would be of substance to share regarding history. Although for some of you, and especially when we think about nostalgic aspects, DOS is particularly interesting, and I am fond of DOS as well as other old operating systems, not because they were great, but because they shaped a generation. And I think that this is the most important aspects you could consider, because ultimately DOS was not something that was executed in a perfect way. It was certainly something that was easier to operate, and of course cheaper to develop. And certainly this was the appeal that DOS had at that time. If you wanted more features, more capabilities, there were much better operating systems to have, and Unix or Linux ones, because Linux also followed many of the good principles that were founded in Unix. Of course, made a much more serious impression on what was possible to do with computing technology. And I think that DOS, in many ways, was not as successful as it could have been. However, in terms of commercial success, it was clearly a hit. In terms of technological prowess, it clearly failed on many aspects. It could be a sign of times, that's debatable, because ultimately most users that were attempting to use DOS were not particularly attracted in having even more of a technical burden than DOS already was. And on the other side, there were many aspects that had to be taken into consideration. Thinking still at the fact that it was a platform that should have been able to run on so many different computing devices. And still, this was executed to some extent, and in other cases, it was not as well as you could have seen it. So I think it's important to have a very good grasp of what DOS could do, and I'm still finding interesting aspects about it, even some 20 years after I last used on somewhat of a regular basis DOS. Because some applications have features that you may not have known about, and others are situations where you see something in an unexpected way. And I think that this is ultimately what matters. DOS is an experience, whether it's a good or a bad one depends on your expectations, but ultimately it's an experience that you have to have in order to have some thoughts about the past, and to understand what we could be having in the next couple of years. Of course, DOS in many ways is archaic, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. DOS is very poor in many respects. However, the prospect of using an operating system always brings you on the point of comparison, because you can go and easily see what works and what doesn't work as well today or back then. And when you think about these situations, I think that there are many aspects that will be revealed. And in many ways, what we are lacking today, because we have so complex operating systems, is a sense of clarity. This was not particularly a staple of the past, but clearly it's something that you have to think again and again in the present. And this complexity is only going to be compounded in the future due to many other changes that we are going to experience it. And clearly, it's not a bad tendency. It's very good. I'm very glad that we are following this path. However, there are some aspects that still could have been improved in today's applications and today's operating systems. And sometimes having a glimpse from the past is still what makes the best case for what could be achieved. Because many times we are forgetting that in the past there were some things that were worse off and some things that were better off. But without exposure to them, we would only be considering that, of course, the present solution or the future one may be the best approach. So this is one of the many reasons I consider doing retro videos, because in many ways they put you in a situation where you have to again reconsider where we are, and having this experience is actually highly fulfilling. Another aspect that I think is very important when you consider all technology is that in some ways we are having less of a chance of experiencing it in the best way as time goes by, because many products are slowly failing, and the moment they are not working or working properly at all is probably the time when most of our experience is not going to be up to the level that is proper for making comparisons. And I think that this is going to be highly important. And I'm not going to think about anything except that sharing that experience is what matters, and leaving it, of course, and making it better for some persons that really want to achieve such a goal is also something to be commended. And I think that this is one of the many reasons I consider focusing on making more and more content that is going to be revealing. And even if it may not be structured as I hope it would be to be as clear and straight cut, I still think it has a lot of purpose. And I hope you will be seeing that in the future. There are also attempts at improving the way in which some products or ideas are being presented, but it's quite difficult when not enough time is available, and certainly in some ways the creativity is not as high as you may expect. And since most of the discussion is about technology, I still think that it's important to catch a glimpse as well as I could present without having any sort of compromise due to production qualities. But still, it's going to be difficult. I want to have the best experience that I could present to you, but on the other side, there are some limitations that you have to understand, because I'm not as skilled in some of the materials I release. But on the other hand, I think that we will accept that as time goes on, and I hope that the community will be having quite an interesting experience in the future when all of these materials are going to be considered. So I hope that this will bring a lot of meaning ultimately to what you will see in the future. And of course, there will be further new products that will be covered, because there are also some devices that I think will be very interesting to show. There are also others pertaining to how some products may behave, and also I think this will be highly interesting. And in the end, I think that most of what you will see on this channel will be less of a focus on a specific path or a specific subject, but a multitude of them. And I hope that in this diversity you will have a pleasant time. So those are basically the most important aspects I like to dwell upon. And of course, there are more I could be presenting. I think that the following years are going to be relevant. They are going to show exactly what we can expect, and they will help me better understand what are your expectations and how I can make some of the content more attractive to you. And I hope that this exchange will be fruitful, and in the future you will see a lot of videos that show products or ideas that are very revealing. And of course, this is what matters the most. As a matter of fact, regarding live streams, I don't think I will make too much of them in this format, because ultimately it was something reserved for a couple of milestones. I still think a live stream with some virtual machine may be interesting to some of you, because there are many revealing details that could be had, and I will be thinking about that in the future. However, for the moment, the focus is on those sample and on many other videos that will cover all the technology. But I will also have some interesting reviews for products. So, for instance, if you want an upcoming perspective, I think that there is a tablet. I think there is also another laptop that will be presented on the channel. And there are many other products I still have in mind. So I hope you will find this perspective interesting. And of course, I hope to see you and share my thoughts with you on future videos, and of course on other materials that I think will be interesting to you. So I think that it's enough for today. My initial expectation was for a video that would take around half an hour, and I think I covered most of what I was expecting. So if you still have questions, I will gladly ask them on the comments, and I hope you will have a pleasant time. So thank you very much for watching, and see you soon. Hope you enjoy your weekend evening as well. So thank you very much. Goodbye.